For TraderInsight.com, I'm Adrian Manns, and it's time for your daily dose of the doctor. Let's take a look at another news-based trade. This one, once again, brought to you by our friends at TradeTheNews.com. We are looking at a news reversal setup in LVS. You see here that we've got a takeover chatter rumor floating around on LVS. It's ticking higher, and when we look at the intraday chart, this is what we see. LVS has popped right up against this 56.51 intraday pivot line. Again, your trading software is going to have those pivots built right in, and it's moving lower. Now, what I'd like to see is a retest of that pivot line. Since the news came out and we already saw the bump down, what we don't want to do is get in way late here and then wind up down in the range of this expansion bar that formed. But if we just wait a few seconds, usually we get another opportunity at an entry, and this one, of course, we called in the room right at 56.35. So on the bounce up into that 56.35, there it is, we have the opportunity to short this. We're going short. The logic here is we'd like to be short right from this pivot line, but it is seeing resistance right at that 56.35 level, which is the close of the previous bar. We see our sell short order popped up there, showing us where we've got these shares, and now we need to talk about what our profit target is. The logical profit objective when you're trading on a pivot reversal is going to be the next pivot, especially when they're this close together, right? So we've got a range here that's not so wide that these pivots are $1 apart or something, and what we're looking to have happen is a move down into 55.90, which is going to be the R1 pivot. So we're going to move from R2 down to R1, hopefully, and we're going to have our stop loss right above that 56.51 pivot. Let's just clear everything out of there so we can see what's happening, and we will pop back to this example right after we get a move either up or down. At this point, we've got basically a break-even stop. We've hit 50% of the distance to the target on this. Let's see how this one plays out. Here we are. We've been in this one for 15 minutes. That's a little bit longer than the normal holding for a news-based reversal, but there was no reason to get out of this stock early. A couple of the guys in the room took it off right at this $56 mark. I stubbornly held on to it and am absolutely looking for that move down into 55.90, which is going to be that R1 resistance level. So we see it's trailing lower. The logic here, if you're looking for reasoning when you're putting these trades together, first off, the volume on this move lower was very high, right? Even though we had a big burst to the upside, the downside volume, the sell-off volume, was almost equally high to the one that pushed it up into the pivot. And then as these other bars are forming, we see that interest in the stock is dying down. And if we were looking at the level 2 screen, we would also see that most of what's happening is happening at the bid side. So there's still bidders for the stock. They're holding it up above that 55.90 line, but I am very confident when I see something like this occurring that price is going to trail off. Now, you do have the possibility when you're looking at this chart of price moving down through the pivot and eventually resting on this support level here, or even moving back into this range. But that's really not the plan on this trade, right? The plan was just to get down to this pivot line. You could go and ratchet stops in and say you have a 15-cent stop or something on this $55.90 target. But the reality is it's pretty much time to look for something else once you get to your profit objective in this case, because there's a lot of spots in here that this price can bounce, and there's an awful lot of support on the way lower, and you're only looking at picking up extra nickels here, and when it bounces, it's probably going to bounce back up into this range right here, and when that happens, you've got sort of the obligation to take the position off if you're doing some good trade management. So really it doesn't make much sense to take the extra risk when right here you've got the opportunity to take your profit. So if you have any questions about this one or any of the news-based trades, please feel free to send me an email, adrian@traderinsight.com. If you're interested in a great news service, go on over and have a look at tradethenews.com. They provide a bunch of really, really relevant and actionable information every single day, and I'm sure you'll find something there that is going to change the way you look at the markets. The best trader education anywhere, only from traderinsight.com.